My unit, salute. Welcome to Amped Up Thursday, the 7th of August of the year 2025. That's going to be our big discussion for today. WWE switching platforms early next year. They're going to ESPN streaming service. You're most likely going to pay upfront triple the amount you're paying right now for Peacock. But on top of that, that's only half of it. Wait till you hear everything else you're going to be paying for. This is wild. And you have to ask yourself, when is enough enough? When the product is just not good enough, but they're asking for way more money from you. And if you thought that was it, if you thought watching all of these advertisements now showing up on tables and chairs, and it's only a matter of time before it's NASCAR and the wrestlers are going to be coming out with patches and advertisements. It's on the horizon. But now you will be shelling out more from your wallets. We'll talk all about it. You're not going to believe what this means for the consumer, what this means for the fan. This is actually wild, man. We'll talk about it. That's our big conversation. We're probably going to kick off with that talk. But also in this Amped Up, I do have the Dynamite review for you guys, 8/6/25 Dynamite. Just a couple of weeks away from Forbidden Door. All the latest from AEW, including some discussion on Dustin Rhodes. You guys know how high I am on Dustin. I haven't really spoke on this. I thought it was just a little quick injury, maybe 4 to 6 months he'll be back. But Dustin just announced something huge, and it sucks, man. It absolutely sucks. This guy was finally starting to find that groove again and ascend, and just became the TNT champion. And then this happens, and then we find out what Dustin just announced, and that's wild. We'll talk about it. And can he come back, man? What is he, like 56? The best I'll give you is 58. Fletcher had a live mic in the middle of the ring last night, and he said Dustin was 60 years old. I don't think he's 60. I'm going to say 56. The most I'll give you is 58. I think Fletcher's been hanging out with Riddle or something. Not 60. But that's what a good heel is supposed to do, right? Up the age a little bit. Say there's no place for a 60-year-old man in AEW. Although Sting and so many others would be like, hold up. But we'll talk Dustin Rhodes, we'll talk Dynamite. We're going to talk Roman Reigns in this upload. A new big story coming out with Roman Reigns. You ready for this headline? Roman Reigns set for time off. Set for time off. Filming a movie and such. How is that news? How's that a headline? How is that shocking? Roman Reigns is taking time off. How can you take time off from time off? I guess it's possible, right? You hear of like families, those couples that have like several kids and they go on vacation, and when they come back home, they feel like they need a vacation from the vacation. I guess it's possible. All he does is take time off. The real shocker would be like Roman is coming back for more than a match. That would be wild. We'll talk about that as well. It's all coming up in this Amped Up for 8/7/2025. I want to get right into it. This is wild news, man. WWE is leaving Peacock, at least for their premium lives. They're going over to ESPN's new streaming service, which I believe really kicks off on the 21st of August. So less than a couple of weeks, or 2 weeks, right? Is it what's today? 2 weeks from today? Listen to this. You're not going to believe the price point, and you're not going to believe what is included, or should I say, not included. So WWE is going over to ESPN's new streaming service, which kicks off in just a couple weeks. WWE will start early 2026. We're thinking right before WrestleMania, obviously, because ESPN is already touting the big 2-night extravaganza, WrestleMania. ESPN is also touting that more 2-night events will be upcoming. So not just SummerSlam, it sounds like. And they listed several events, but I'm hoping they're just listing all of the events, because Money in the Bank was involved in that conversation. You are not making Money in the Bank 2 nights, but this company absolutely would. If that's what ESPN wants, if it's more money for everybody, you have 2 ladder matches, so the women could easily main event one of the nights, the men the second night, or vice versa. So I could see Money in the Bank being 2 nights. There's no way that's needed. And we've already seen that WWE is not capable of producing a good 2-night event. They just don't do it. WrestleMania season was a bust, let alone the 2 nights of Mania. SummerSlam was a bust. fans are kind of split. Oh, night one was a little better than night two, but that's not saying much. Well, night two was better than night one, but that's not saying much. Nobody's raving about SummerSlam or WrestleMania. So until they learn how to do these two-night events correctly, maybe hold off on them. Maybe, just maybe, here's a crazy concept. WrestleMania is not too big for one night. Maybe SummerSlam was not too big for one night. What a concept. But ESPN is going to want a lot of bang for their buck. That's what's going to happen. Now, this is the big deal. Now, up front, you might be saying, oh, BC, it's business. They're going to switch platforms. ESPN won't be the first or the last. WWE will probably switch after 5 years because it is a 5-year deal, guys. 5-year, and it's 1.6 times an increase in the deal they have. That may sound like a lot. At least it's in the right direction. That is nowhere near what Nick Khan and WWE were looking for. Trust me. And there's a reason for that, which I'll get to. But first, let's just keep it with ESPN. ESPN is going to get all these live events, and they're going to be able to create extra content for and with WWE. So you're going to get other shows and whatnot and other productions on ESPN. Documentaries, you name it. Maybe it'll be more unreal. They'll expose more tricks and all the magic, right? Whatever's left to be exposed, maybe there'll be a show on ESPN. But here's the deal. You're going to be paying $30 a month now, added on. $30, $29.99 is what it cost for ESPN. And that's just beginning. We've seen how this starts with Netflix, Peacock, and all the others. They start with one price point, which now for ESPN is $29.99, $30 across the board. What happens with Netflix, Peacock, and everyone? They start adding layers, levels, right? Oh, if you don't want ads, buy the next package up, which is only $7 more. If you want the bonus content, this, that, and the other thing, get the one that's $10 more. But basic entry-level price point is $30. Most of us are only paying $10 for Peacock, right? Tops. Most of us, maybe you spend a little bit more if you're getting like no ads or whatever, and then you get to see all the interviews instead of advertisements, so maybe you pay $15, $20. But even if you're paying bare minimum, it's $10-ish. Now you're going to be paying $30. $30. You have to ask yourself, is this product worth 3 times the amount you're paying now for Peacock? And let's be honest as well, most of us only have Peacock to watch WWE events. I'm not going back and watching old school Fresh Prince of Bel-Air as much as I used to love that show. I also loved Saved by the Bell, which is on that platform. I don't go back and watch it. I don't know how many people are watching Law and Order and shows like that when they're already on cable anyway. So a lot of us have Peacock for that one reason. So we're paying $10 a month for a pay-per-view, basically, a premium live. Well, now a lot of people are going to be having ESPN for one sole reason, WWE. Guys, I love sports. You guys know that, man. My Yankees, my Packers, my Knicks. Since little BC, that's been that's my wheelhouse. That's what I love. And I do not need ESPN streaming service. I don't need ESPN streaming service at $30 a month to follow any of my sports, especially any of my teams. I would literally be getting this just for WWE pay-per-views. So you're basically back to what we used to pay back in the day. For those that don't know, we used to pay $25, then it went to $30, then $35, $40, $45, $50, and then eventually $60 an event. Some were $70. But we're back to paying $30 for a pay-per-view every month. Is it worth it? That's the problem. These events, ever since they went to streaming services, had gotten even worse than the last couple of years on pay-per-view when it started to feel like they're not special events anymore. It doesn't feel like a pay-per-view. Once they went to streaming, they totally gave up. They're like, we already made our money. Now we just have to fulfill commitments. So you have to ask yourself, is the extra $30 a month to pay ESPN, is that worth what the product, what Hunter Hearst Helmsley is giving us? Because this product is surely not worth $30 a month. But that's not even it. Guys, if the library's included and all the special events, right, that's one thing that's added into the conversation. You would still have to ask, is that worth the money? But check this, the library and all of that is not included. So on a separate platform, and I'm not including Netflix yet, just the PLEs and some special content is what you're paying $30 a month for. That's ESPN. Now for all of the library, the entire pro wrestling WWE library that WWE currently owns, and they own all these promotions and it's all part of their library. All of the NXT events, because we're hearing that the ESPN deal does not account for all the NXT live events or the PLEs. So NXT and all special events, and I believe they mean Saturday night's main events and such. So all the Saturday night's main events, which are NBC, that's part of Universal, which is Peacock. ESPN is part of ABC, owned by Walt Disney World. So, oh yeah, Mickey Mouse meets Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Big ears and big schnozzes. Perfect mix. But ESPN is Disney. And ESPN doesn't have the library or any of those type of special events. That would be Peacock, NBC, Universal. And we know that WWE still has to file out a deal for NXT's premium lives, for the library, and for now Saturday night's main event, which is still going to be on NBC. Most likely what's going to happen is they're going to cut a deal with Peacock. A lot less money, but Peacock will have the library, Peacock will have NXT, and Peacock will stay with Saturday night's main event and any other specials that they want. They'll probably add more specials into the deal, sweeten the pot a little bit. So you'll still have to pay $10 a month for Peacock. If you want WWE Saturday night's main event, catch up on NXT, catch up on the full library, and any other specials that Peacock has for WWE. And then on top of that, you have to pay another bare minimum $10 for Netflix for Monday Night Raw. So $30 for ESPN, most likely $10 extra for Peacock, or wherever all of this library ends up, and the Saturday night's main event and NXT and any other specials. That's going to be another 10 somewhere. We're up to 40. Netflix, Monday Night Raw, we're up to 50. These are all bare minimum if you don't have the extra packages to cut out ads and such. Then you're looking at 60, 70. And we're not counting cable. Nobody's counting cable here, which is SmackDown. And if you want to watch Saturday night's main event on NBC, that'd be broadcast anyway, but cable has all your high definitions and 4K. I don't think broadcast has all that, do they? Yeah, I don't think. Either way, that's not counting cable. Your cable bill is most likely well over $100, $150 usually, I'm guessing, right? Yeah, that adds up, man. You know, when times get rough and families start crunching numbers and they're like, damn, these bills are adding up. What is it? Well, you're paying $50 plus for WWE every month. This is how they get you, man. To watch WWE, you have to have 10 different things. You have to have your Netflix. You have to have, most likely, your Peacock going forward. You have to have your ESPN. You have to have straight up cable. They did this with the Yankees for the longest time. You had the Yes Network, the Yankees Entertainment Sports Network. That's where you went for all the games. Then all of a sudden, every Wednesday, they started going on Prime. You had to have Amazon to watch Yankees on Wednesdays. And then all of a sudden, on certain Fridays, you'd have to have Apple TV to watch the Yankees. Friday nights, Apple TV. So now you have to have Prime, Apple. Then what's the point of the Yes Network if I'm only getting 3 or 4 games a week now? The corporate greed is getting out of hand. Now, I know in certain countries, it's probably going to be different. You guys are going to tell me, no, BC, I watch everything on Netflix, one flat fee. Or Peacock has everything, BC. Or we don't do X, Y, or Z. Or BC, we won't have to do the ESPN thing. Good for you. And absolutely, let everybody know. Let the unit know, like in certain areas, if it is different. Because here in the States, that's what you're going to be paying. Over $50 a month. If you want to have all your WWE accessible. And that's not even leaking into like AEW and such, which if you want to catch up on Max, maybe you didn't catch it live. You know, that's another what? Another $10? Shit's getting wild, man. And the greed is out of control. Even if you have the money, it's no problem. Isn't it still the principle? Like, isn't this getting a little messy? Like, if ESPN just had everything involved in the package, the $30 price point is still going to be a problem for a lot of families and a lot of people. Even if they have the money, because they're going to go, well, that the product isn't worthy of 30, 40, 50 bucks. That's the problem. And this is just the beginning price point. The streaming service starts in 2 weeks. By the time WWE gets up and running, who's to say that's not $40, guys? That's what usually happens. These streaming services see just how tough it is. They never meet their price points up front or their return on their initial investments. So they always end up raising prices. So if you think ESPN is staying at $30, it ain't happening. It's just about how quick they go to 35 or 40. But it's absolutely happening. They never stay at the beginning price point. So by the end of 2026, do not be shocked. Remember these words. You'll be paying 35 to 40 bare minimum. Every month. Not yearly. Every month. We're right back to paying top pricing for pay-per-views like back in the day. If you're talking 35, 40 bucks. Guys, it's a big conversation. I could see if the product was worthy of it. Then, okay, then we have to go, damn, we got to do it. I could see if like everything was involved. Saturday night's main event, the whole library, all this, that, and the other thing. It's all in one $30 package right now. It would still be a conversation. It would still be a lot. You'd still have to think about it. But the fact that they're breaking it all up and that's not even a part of the initial deal, there's going to be a lot of money going out in all these different areas just to watch WWE. At what point do we ask, is it worth it, man? Is it worth it? A lot of people will still pay it out of habit and hope. Habit and hope, man. Hoping this gets better, and habit because it's you can't picture not watching the PLEs and such. Can't picture it, right? So WWE or ESPN or Peacock, they say jump, you say how high. And it sucks to say that, but as much as we can bitch and complain about it, most of us are going to fork it over. That's wild, man. We'll switch gears for now. I'll keep you guys updated. I'll be staying keen on this story. Trust me. We'll find out where the library ends up and everything else. If price points end up switching up, I'll stay on top of the story for sure. I do want to switch gears, though. There's some other topics I want to go over. Roman Reigns. We'll stick with WWE, then we'll switch over to AEW. But Roman Reigns is taking some ample amount of time off coming up. And I don't even know what that could mean because doesn't he always, and he just came back from time off. So how is he taking more time? It's not even a story anymore. It's normal if he's just gone for weeks or months at a time or most of the year. So wouldn't the story be like, whoa, Roman's going to be back for like 2 straight months? I mean, come on, man. Wouldn't that be more of the story? Roman's coming back for 2 months. What? Everybody just starts spitting out coffee. Dropping what they're doing. Slamming doors on old ladies' faces because they're in shock. They just fucking let the door go. That would shock the world if Roman Reigns is coming back for a bunch of shows. That's not the case. So I don't know how this is a story, but apparently he's going to film a movie in September, and it's going to take some time away, and then he's got time, obviously, more time than what's allotted for the average superstar in WWE for the holidays. He's going to be taking a lot of time off around there as well. So I don't know what... you're doing a quick matchup clash in Paris, I guess, right? He had another pair of shoes stolen, so he's going to be doing something with that. You got to believe he's going to be a part of War Games, and then that's going to be it more than likely, right? You'll see this guy a couple months later at Royal Rumble. He's scheduled for a couple of Raws upcoming. That's how we know he's going to be a part of Clash in Paris. But, is he gone for most of October and November? How are you going to set up War Games? Or are you going to depend on everybody else in the match? That's what it's looking like. But Roman Reigns is set to take time off from time off. He just got back. He comes back to get his shoes stolen a few times, and then he goes, I'm done with this. I'm out of here. I'm keeping the rest of my shoes. Kind of fun. I don't know what they did with Roman. He's lost his mystique, hasn't he? They've botched this. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep him away from the world titles so that fans, there's not backlash, right? Becky Hogan, they call her because she's all around the title. Ripley is always around the title. Charlie Flair. But for Roman Reigns, they're like, oh, let's keep him away from the championship so he can maintain his special quality. But Helmsley is ruining his special quality. Comes back after 4 months off to have a random tag match with Jason Yeaterman and the Bronze. He's getting his shoes stolen every time he tries to show up to be a badass. Then he's walking back in his socks to the back. He's walking around without shoes. It's not that badass. They have to be careful. They're starting to lose that mystique. I'm not saying he needs to be in a world title picture always. Trust me, no. But they have to be careful. The way they're booking Roman, if you keep doing this, it's not going to be as special. They think they have the formula, but it wore off for Brock Lesnar and so many others, right? Keeping their appearances special by not overusing them, right? You don't want to oversaturate somebody, overexpose them because the audience gets too used to it. So by Roman leaving for many months and then Roman returned a couple months later. Roman's returned 3 months later. Roman returned. How many returns can you have in a year before it's no longer returning? That's just your schedule. And that's what ended up happening for Brock. Every time he returned, it was special. Oh, it's Brock. And then after a while, it was just like, oh, Brock's back. And the booking for Brock got worse and worse. So then it's just like, oh, Brock's back. Brock at SummerSlam for the initial time, and maybe that night was like, whoa, Brock. And then it was kind of like, oh, it's Brock. Like, this doesn't even lead to anything. They didn't even put it in a story. Initial reports was The Rock sent Brock to take out Cena for what Cena said on Friday SmackDown. And I love that report, and I can believe that report because that's how you tell a story. And then Michael Cole and Corey Graves are sitting there on Monday night, and they're like, Brock is back because Nick Khan and Hunter Hearst Helmsley thought it was the right time to bring back Brock, and Brock said, let's do this. They looked at the camera, and that's the reason that Brock came back. So you brought Brock back just for that shock moment, and then you expose the fact right on the next Monday Night Raw, you expose the fact that there's no reason for Brock being back. There's no underlining story. Nick Khan and Hunter Hearst Helmsley just said, hey, you want to come back? And Brock said, yes. That's what Michael Cole said. So the Brock return is already a bust. Just be careful with Roman, man, because we're starting to see this too often. And trust me when I say it will start to lose its luster. It's going to start to lose that special quality. It's already starting to feel that way. So Dynamite A625, before I get into this show, I want to talk some Dustin Rhodes, man. You guys know how high I am on Dustin Rhodes. He just won the TNT Championship. What was that? All in Texas, of all places. On the shoulders of his peers, it's a celebration. And you really felt like Dustin was finding his groove again. You really felt like Dustin was trying to have matches as if he was in his mid-20s again. And then the injury happens, and you're thinking, hey, tops 4 to 6 months, come right back and keep kicking ass. But then you find out he makes the announcement that he needs he's undergoing double knee replacement surgery. 1 is better. 2? You only got 2. And at his age, Fletcher said he was 60 years old in last night's show. They had an in-ring promo. Fletcher is a little off. I think he's 56. Maybe 58. I don't know why those two numbers, but I think it's 56. If he's 58, all right. It's still not 60, so Fletcher's stretching it a little bit. Let's not push it. Time goes by fast enough. But in his later 50s, to lose both of your knees or replace both of your knees, and Dustin is saying, I'm going to push myself harder than ever to make it back. Careful. You're hearing the stories now of Hulk Hogan pushing himself 2011 on to try to get more matches in and pushing himself harder than ever before. And tearing shit and breaking shit and having to get surgeries because he was pushing himself so hard at such a late age. And that's when he was around Dustin age now, I believe. Late 50s. So careful pushing yourself at this age, because even though your mind's saying I can do it, your body is like, no, you can't. And then you start breaking other things, having other surgeries, and every surgery takes a toll. Trust me, we've seen it with how many wrestlers, guys? Too many to count. If you don't think all these surgeries on Hogan is what wore down his heart and other things, no. Brooke Hogan and others will tell you that's exactly what was doing it. So, of course I want to see Dustin back, but bro, all these injuries have added up. Both your knees being replaced. And by the time you come back, yeah, Fletcher will be a little bit more accurate. You'll be damn near 60. And when he comes back, to say that he's going to be a step or two slower, that's going to be an understatement. And so it's just about how, if he does come back, is that step or two going to be so noticeable? Or is he going to be able to hide those weaknesses by playing to all of his amazing strengths, which somebody like Dustin can do? But you take somebody like Tegan Nox, when her wheel got knocked off, man, that first injury, you saw she went back several steps and she couldn't rebound. Then she injured it again, or maybe it was the other leg. But I think that was another tear of like the MCL, ACL, maybe all the L's. And Tegan Nox lost like 8 or 9 steps, and you could tell, unfortunately. And it was only a matter of time before WWE said, even if we give you a good booking, I don't know what we can do with you. So we wish Dustin all the best, man. It was just, he was really starting to hit his stride. I just feel like Dustin is one of the, I've said this from day one, Dustin is one of the like natural, and I hate using that word because his name used to be the natural Dustin Rhodes. So I don't mean, there's no pun intended. He's one of the naturalist gifted pro wrestlers on the planet. It's a seamless, flawless, everything he does. There's only 2 people that do the scoop slam at a pristine rate, and that is Randy Orton and Dustin Rhodes. That scoop body slam, nobody is more flawless than Dustin Rhodes and Randy Orton. And I know Samoa Joe and others have a really good one, by the way. But Randy Orton, Dustin Rhodes, just naturally gifted at this wrestling thing. And if anybody reached the levels of what Cody Rhodes is now in that family, I would have thought it would have been Dustin. Because he could show you what he could do character work with the Goldust character. I mean, you talk about versatile. But it was Cody Rhodes, and good for Cody. But I really feel that Dustin was so proud to have that TNT championship and what it represented. And I really feel that Dustin was going on one wild last run. It just reminds me of like Mariano Rivera. Mariano was the closer for the Yankees, and he announced his final year. He was going to have a retirement tour. Right? You don't see that with baseball often, like what John Cena and Sting just did. One last year. And while shagging some balls during practice, just catching some foul balls, broke his leg. Yeah, before the season even got kicked off, Mariano Rivera's farewell year, he spent on the injured list. But he did come back. He said, that's not how I'm going out. But it just reminds me, like Dustin was so proud to sign this last contract with AEW. He said, that is my last contract I'm signing. This is the farewell tour now. This is my last contract. I'm putting it all into this year. And then this happens. Anyway, I don't want to go too long, but you know, how high I put Dustin Rhodes up. And with this announcement, I felt it was only right to take 5 minutes and talk some Dustin Rhodes, man. We wish you the best. Don't push it too hard. Do it the right way. I'm sure Dustin Rhodes at 60, 70% is still going to be better than most pro wrestlers at 100 today. Now let's get into Dynamite, 8/6/25. First half an hour of this show was really Mox versus Speedball Bailey. No joke, man. This was like, when this segment was finally done, we were about 28 minutes into this show. Now, I love how they put emphasis on this match being demanded by Mox. Mox stormed into the production meeting demanding a match. That was a story. And they said that a bunch of times. And each time they would bring it up, they would bring in more details. Like Shivani would be like, yeah, I was right there. You know, Taz, I'm always right next to Tony Khan. And Mox was almost holding the place hostage. Like he was not leaving until he got this match. So I love when they just add, I mean, it's simplistic, but it gives a reason for a match, and that's what we need more of. It only takes a moment to get creative. You could so picture Mox storming into production and being like, I want a match. I don't leave here until I got a match. Maybe Tony Khan's pressed up against a wall. You can start to envision that. So I love that. Simplistic, but it gives a reason for a match. I'm not a fan of it taking Mox 15 minutes to beat a Speed Bailey, guys. I'm not. This match was long. Basically, it was to put over Bailey. Basically, it was just to show you that Speedball's a real contender. This is Mox, man. He just went to war with Hangman. Literally. Did you see how that match finished at All In, Texas? Speedball Bailey's almost beating him 12 times in a 15-minute match? Come on, man. 15 minutes it took to beat Speed Bailey with all the respect in the world to the man they call Speedball. AEW right now needs to captivate audiences right now. That's their main goal. If you're a tried and true diehard AEW fan and you don't care about that, basically we don't care about casuals. If you're with us, you're with us. If not, we can't worry about the casuals. You have to, though. For the placement of AEW, if you really love AEW, you want to see it grow and prosper. And not just contend with WWE, but smack it upside the dome piece so maybe WWE wakes up and starts delivering better television and a better product. Because a better WWE will make a better AEW and everywhere, right? High tides raise all ships. So you have to care about casuals. You have to care about growing the audience. Speedball Bailey? AEW needs to captivate audiences. WWE is not firing on all cylinders right now. They're not. Raw and SmackDown, their numbers, their ratings are stagnant. Raw is the go-home show to SummerSlam barely pulled a 2.7. That's their average, which is 2.6, 2.7. They've even hit 2.5 and even 2.4 recently. WWE pulled in nobody for their second biggest show of the calendar year. Monday Night Raw stayed at a 2.7. SmackDown is stagnant always around 1.4s. On the best of days, best of weeks, maybe they'll pull a 1.5, maybe. They're stagnant. NXT right now is there for the taking. AEW right now can beat NXT if they string together just a couple 2-3 Dynamite shows, pun intended. NXT's right there. On a normal head-to-head week, they're within 50,000 viewers, I'd say. Last week is what the numbers said. And that's usually how it is. If you promote The Undertaker, yeah, NXT was able to catapult over 7. Without The Undertaker, they went right back to 660, 670-ish. You add in the max numbers. And maybe you're 10 to 20,000. You're right there. That's what I mean. AEW is right there, and they have the talent and the leeway and the vision to do it. I just don't feel they do it. I don't feel like they believe there's an urgency. And I understand the tried and true diehard AEW fan is like, there is no urgency, BC. We're just doing our own thing, man, and that's it, not worried about anybody. But you can do better. But look at the talent you have, the stories you could be telling, the leeway that TBS TNT gives you. What your boss is willing to allow. And for a half an hour watching Mox and Speedball Bailey, even the diehard, tried and true AEW fan has been sick of Mox for months. BC cannot always catch Dynamite, not live especially. I definitely cannot catch Collision on Saturday nights. I mean, most of us have things, especially on the weekends, Saturdays, we can't always catch a Collision. So when it comes to more of a casual fan to the product, BC is. When I'm able to catch a live Dynamite, man, I can't tell you that watching a half an hour of Speedball, Bailey, and Mox. The match wasn't a half an hour. By the time it was all said and done, it was 8:28 p.m. So the first half an hour, I'm thinking, what kept me here? You know, I decided to do the notes because I had the time to watch the show. So I'm like, I'm going to do my notes. I'm going to review this show. If I wasn't doing this, I can't say that kept me on the show. I wouldn't be surprised if the ratings come out and you see just an absolute massive decline going forward after segment 1. Tony Khan has a habit of taking random average dudes and catapulting them over everyone else in terms of TV time. They did it with Dan Garcia. BC was in the same boat. I couldn't catch Dynamites live every Wednesday, but when I was able to, I was like, all right, I got some time. And Dan Garcia would get so much TV time. The roster is so deep. And I understand you want to try to create new stuff. Dan Garcia doesn't or barely hits the gym is what it looks like. Average as average can be. If he's stocking the shelves at the local ShopRite, you'd walk right by him. And I understand he's a good wrestler. He's got the little Tozawa dance that he does. I get it. I couldn't believe how much TV time he was getting. And now with the ball of speed, Bailey. It seems like every time I'm tuning on into AEW, Speedball Bailey is on TV. These are at best today's versions of the 1-2-3 Kid. Does anybody remember the 1-2-3 Kid? And not even the 1-2-3 Kid got TV time like this. Maybe when he turned into X-Pac. It's just, can we place these wrestlers in better positions, maybe? I always say, just as important as the finale of the show is how you start a show. Speedball Bailey. Mox ends up finally pinning Bailey. Again, this match went so long. Bailey's almost pinning Mox 85 times. And what? I'm supposed to go, wow, they made Bailey look strong. Bailey should not be looking strong in that moment against Mox. Mox needs to look strong. Mox was in that war against Swerve. Mox lost the title. Mox can barely get by Speedball. If this was WWE, I'm ripping it up. If this is AEW, I'm ripping it up. That's just weird booking to me. When it's all said and done, it's 8:28 p.m. We go to a fatal four-way to decide the challenger for Sadie's 8 belts, Mercedes and her 8 titles. This is for the number 1 contender for the TBS title at Forbidden Door, August 24th. So this is more lazy booking. All of you ladies go in there, have a match. Whoever wins, you'll take on our champion. See it all the time in the other company. Get creative. Just create storylines and go with that. With the time that you have doing a Fatal 4, you could be building a story. When it's all said and done, Alex Windsor defeats Sky Blue, Queen Amanada, and Billy Starks. Post-match, Sadie's comes to the ring, literally engulfed in 8 titles. It's hilarious. Athena delivers Eclipse Stunner to Toni Storm, and Mercedes hits a stabber on Windsor. 2 birds with 1 stone. Mercedes has taken out her new challenger, Windsor. But also, don't forget, Athena has that contract. Tony's got that title. So Athena is delivering that stunner to Tony. I didn't mind the finish to this, or should I say the post-match. Match itself was all right. But coming off of a Speedball Bailey match, if you're really intrigued to see Alex Windsor and Queen Amanada, all right. Come for the wrestling, stay for Sky Blue's assets. Because Sky Blue was the thing that was kind of keeping BC somewhat engaged until Sadie's came out. And then the fun began. Callis family would end hour one in-ring promo with Renee Paquette. Fletcher on the mic. Fletcher makes a good point. Everyone he faces winds up on the shelf. Adam Cole, Dustin Rhodes. So I say this kid roll with it, man. That's the gimmick. Today's variation of like the legend killer, right? Over in NXT, you have the dollar store version, Wish version of Randy Orton. Miles Bourne, I think his name is. Fletcher could be the actual next up in line for Randy Orton. Fletcher could be that kind of legend killer. Utilize this, man. If they're all flying off the shelves, I said that with Kari. It's unfortunate, but Zoe Stark got injured. And then, who was the other one? Zoe got injured. Liv Morgan got injured. These were all in matchups with Kari, even though Kari wasn't necessarily at fault, especially now with the Liv Morgan one. You could argue she was out of place with the Zoe Stark injury, but Zoe has performed that from that location before, so I think that's exactly what she wanted to do. Maybe she was hoping that Kari was a little bit more turned around. But either way, if I'm Kari, I'm going with that. Go with it. If that's what they're going with, and if people want to blame you for injuring these people, give them something to cry about. If they're going to hate, give them something to hate. If they're going to call you Becky Hogan, go out there with Hogan's music and even more red and yellow. If you're the common denominator with people like Adam Cole and Dustin Rhodes and others getting injured, go with it. So I don't mind this. If he starts mentioning that more, go with it and utilize it. Modern day legend killer gimmick. Callis then unveils an absolute absurd painting. An absurd painting, guys. It's a painting of he and Fletcher. Callis is basically a Chippendales buff Don Callis. I mean, he's like, it's a painting. And Callis is like buff. And he looks like he's about to go on stage at the local Chippendales. And Fletcher has nothing on, but the title is around his waist. So it's a nod back to like HBK, Shawn Michaels, and that Playgirl that he did. And WWE actually put this on television, man. This was going into like the Attitude Era, I think. So they were trying to be a little bit more risky. And Michaels just has nothing on, but he's got the championship around his midsection. So Fletcher is in this painting like that with a Chippendales Don Callis. It was an obnoxious painting. You couldn't help but laugh at this thing, man. And it plays into the absurdity of Fletcher. Now, Fletcher on the mic is hard to take. I don't know what it is. I don't think it's the accent, because many people have the same accent. I don't know, man. Listening to him is like that Chris Jericho. One of the worst Chris Jericho gimmicks that he had was back in WWE when he would come out with the damn suit and tie. And I brought this up in a recent post too, recent upload. And he would just come out and he would just talk like this. And I am the best in the world. And it was just so cringe because you're like, get on with it, man. And he just has a suit and tie. He had the short hair and all his movements were so slow. Easily rated as one of the worst Jericho gimmicks of all time, and for good reason. Or maybe a Charlie Flair robotic promo. I don't know what it was about Fletcher's promo. Maybe at that point I was just tapping out a little bit. I don't know, man. But the promo game is a little weak, but the gimmick is there. So if we can intertwine that. But again, he's got Callis as the manager. He's got a mouthpiece. He's got a Paulito Heyman. So maybe he doesn't have to speak. Maybe less speaky time for him, more speaky for Don Callis. Let's go with that. That was the end of hour 2. Swig of coffee. We'll go into hour number... That was the end of hour 1. Hour number 2 upcoming. What was the beginning hour? Well, let's find out. That's what it was. So hour 2, I always say the top of an hour should be huge, right? It should be a big attention getter. The start of hour 1, the start of hour 2, if there's a third hour, right? You really want to... I mean, you're getting a little bit of a new audience is going to be flipping through the channels and they're going to come across the product. But it's also a good moment for the crowd that's been there the whole time to really kind of reignite, right? Like get a little bit more juice in them. So it was weird. Hour 2, we were just backstage with Adam Copeland. It was funny because Copeland says he has a match next week with Stokely. So when you think of that, right? Stokely versus Adam Copeland. Copeland can't, storyline-wise, touch FTR. Nothing was ever said about Stokely. So somehow Copeland has a match with Stokely. That's going to be pretty interesting next week. But that's all this was. I mean, did we have to start hour 2 with that? And then we go in. This is good. Young Bucks versus Brody and Bandito. The entrance for the Young Bucks is hilarious, man. The Bucks continue to get a bootleg entrance ever since losing their EVP status. So their Rise door doesn't fully open. Now, BC was getting a new coffee at the time. I didn't know who was coming out. I look at the TV. I stare over to the big screen. I see that wrestlers are stuck. They can't get the... And I'm like, oh no, that's a huge production botch. Like, I literally felt bad for Tony Khan because that's going to come off like you have a low-level production. But sure enough, it dawns on me, bro, that's the Young Bucks, man. That's their story right now. That's their gimmick. So they have to crawl underneath this Rise door because it just broke on them or it just got stuck. It just stopped. And then instead of the pyro, they have like some sparklers that go off high above. And they're like, really? It was really funny, man. I do love what they're doing with the Bucks. Bandito and Brody pull off a huge upset, and they actually defeat the Bucks via pinfall. So now it's Bandito and Brody that move on in this tag team tournament to face, I believe, FTR. Winners of that will then take on Hurt Syndicate, I believe, Forbidden Door. So this is what I mean. It is lazy booking. It's either Fatal Fours or Triple Threats for number 1 contendership. Doesn't matter the promotion, the company. Because AEW does the same thing. WWE does the same thing. So you have Fatal 4-Ways, Triple Threats to decide a number 1 contender. Or you have tournaments. We have to go through a whole tournament. And at the end of the tunnel, it's not a title on the line. It's just a number 1 contendership. So I just think this is absolutely lazy. But at least the Young Bucks made it fun, and I guess they're going to try to do something when Bandito and Brody... They're really trying to be like a real tag team. They're trying to do all these cool things together, but they botch so much. It just doesn't work, a lot of it. So they're trying. But they're trying... They did this weird thing where Bandito does like this whole spinner-rooney on Brody, like around his chest, up around his head, and Brody is supposed to just like splash him onto the opponent. But, like, he got stuck or he couldn't really spin, so they spent an extra few seconds, like, trying to spin Bandito. And then he couldn't pick Bandito up, Brody. So Brody spent another few seconds trying to get him halfway, and then he just, like, lands him on the Young. And I was like, whoa, that was bad. And I think one of the comments, I don't know if it was Taz or not, he's like, they're trying to get on the same page. I don't know. They're trying, though, man. But it's not as seamless as, like, I remember when they put Chance and Carter together in WWE, those ladies, and they were like, dude, let's go all out and let's just, like, be a tag team and let's try all these cool things together. And it just worked. It clicked. With Brody and Bandito, they're trying. Some stuff works so much. It's not peanut butter and jelly. It's not macaroni and cheese. It just doesn't go. So you're basically making a fluff and mayonnaise sandwich. But we'll see. We'll give them a chance. They absolutely should not be winning tag team gold. That's pretty obvious. Because I just don't understand what that would do anyway. But no, hey, they could. Backstage, MVP gives MJF thumbs down. That was huge. That was the real nail in that coffin. As far as MJF being out of Hurt Syndicate, we kind of already knew that was a direction, but it wasn't like finalized. It was kind of like, no, there's got to be more to the story. No, MJF is just like, ever since you joined, it's me, I. That's not what we're about. We hurt people. And it's all about you. So, Max, and he gives him a thumbs down. That was huge because MVP was the biggest supporter of MJF. And for him to give thumbs down, if you've been following this story from the jump, and I liked it, it was a simplistic story. It was a couple of months of just thumbs up or thumbs down. But they did it in a good way. They did it in a way where you're kind of like actually hanging on that, like, ooh, where are they going with this, man? MVP was always a consistent up. For him to give that thumbs down, that was such a huge moment. And then we go into the main event, grudge match, MJF versus Mark Briscoe. MJF pins Briscoe for the win. However, this one will have an asterisk next to it because Briscoe had his foot on the rope. The ref had no idea. Why would he? It's only his job. Make sure the shoulders are down. Make sure the feet are nowhere near outside the ring or the ropes or, on the ropes. Completely out of position, I know, that's storyline-wise, but that's... You probably want to have that. Now, as a grudge match, man, I thought they were going to go, like, take what John Cena and Cody did at SummerSlam and just elevate it like 20 times. Take what Becky Lynch and Lyra did and just go all out. Grudge match. MJF and Briscoe. It was actually tame. I mean, Briscoe was sporting the Crimson Mask when it was all said and done, and they took it to higher levels a few times. But for all intents and purposes, this was tame for what AEW could have done. Post-match, Hangman Page comes out, he hits the ring, and he and MJF brawl. The infamous brawl. And then Hangman is just so believable, so I'm able to get into everything he does. So even though we see brawls all the time in pro wrestling, to a nauseating degree, when Hangman's involved, I believe in it more, so I can invest more. No matter what this guy does, he could be in a matchup or a feud with Mox or Swerve or Will Ospreay, and I'm into it. So him and MJF rekindling what they once had, hey, I'm cool with it, man. Absolutely. And especially, even though this was just a brawl, and I can't stand too many brawls, you really felt like they were just trying to, like, you could get into it. So I actually like this. The finish of the night happened when somehow Hangman, through all the security, was able to get MJF into the ring. He was setting up for Buckshot Lariat, but MJF was able to hightail it. And Hangman's just giving that look, and MJF's like, yeah. And then we go off the air. So a lot of unfinished business there. And that's AEW Dynamite 8/6/25. Yeah, you know, this isn't one of those shows where you just go, oh, it was a good show, or oh, it was a bad show, you know? And if you're a diehard AEW, a tried and true fan of AEW, you're going to be like, this was a great show. If you can't stand AEW, you're going to trash everything about it. It's not as simple with AEW to say good show, bad show. AEW has all of the promise in the world to be really great. It can be. The problem is AEW right now should not be settling for even being a good show. And that's why people are not caring. That's why you're seeing the numbers where they are. Because you can catch a Dynamite where BC didn't mind most of the show. I can easily say this was decent. My standards are high. So for me to say a show is good, no, hard pressed to do that. This was a decent show. AEW has no problem pulling out decent or even good shows. That's not the problem. With where pro wrestling is today and how bad World Wrestling Entertainment and the product that they've been giving us for years, we need to see great shows from AEW. It's sad to say that, but that's the case. To make people go, oh, I have to start tuning in every Wednesday. That's what separates casual fans from going, oh, I'm not able to catch Wednesday Night Dynamite all the time. But when I am, I try to tune in. We have to stop that and get people going, oh, I have to tune into Wednesday. It's Wednesday night. I have to catch Dynamite. I have to catch X, Y, and Z, man. And that storyline, oh, I got to see what happens. That's what we used to do back in the day. For Raws and sometimes even SmackDowns. Nitros. I don't feel we've hit that with AEW. You have to make people like need to tune in. Even if it's subconsciously. They're like, oh, I was going to go out and get some ice cream. The local market. But you know what? AEW Dynamite's on in 3 minutes and I've got to catch the opening because I think this is happening with Ospreay and Swerve or something. You know, whatever top storyline is popping off. Nothing on this show is screaming. You have to tune in every week. It's just a good show. I like what they did with Speedball Bailey, basically. They're giving him time and they're really going to try to make something. Maybe him and Dan Garcia will have a feud later in the year. Basically, I think, it's going to be pretty good with Hangman and MJF. I like what they're doing. They brawled. Like you said, basically, it's believable with Hangman. Okay. I did say that. It is. What's making me nothing happened that I would have to tune in next week. We have to find a way. This is a 2-hour television show every week. It doesn't matter. What's your favorite show? Wasn't there things that you had to tune in the next week? If it's Walking Dead or maybe The Sopranos, Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad. Didn't you have to tune in the next week because damn, all the stories were elevating and you were like, damn, I can't believe that finish. This is a 2-hour weekly show. Are you really feeling that way? If so, cool. But the numbers are showing you too many people are not needing to tune in the next week. AEW is right there, man. They could take over NXT. Raw's domestic US number is so low, 1-2, that they could be, if they were stringing together good shows and try to get back to that 900, even 1 million mark, you're talking about Raw numbers almost. But they're nowhere close. Because Bandito and Brody are winning tag tournament matches, and Speedball Bailey's having 15-minute matches with Mox. Fatal 4-ways to try to find out who Sadie's is going to take on. And when it's all said and done, Alex Windsor's taking on Sadie's. Is that bringing everybody to the yard? Is that making everybody fork over the money and watch the next pay-per-view or get Max? Be honest, man. AEW has so much potential. And every week that Dynamite ends, I go, good show or decent show. Pro wrestling has to be more than that. I say it about WWE all the time. I've given AEW a lot of slack because they're a younger company. They faced a lot of opposition in recent months. The cool thing to do was to bash AEW, which I could not stand because they were giving WWE all this praise, and they were just trashing AEW. But AEW shows were a lot of times better than Raw's easily. But if they're not willing to elevate their game at the PLEs, their pay-per-views, we can call them pay-per-views for AEW, they're so good. And it's like they go back to the weekly television and they're just okay with being okay. It's frustrating. I hate when I see so much potential and I just feel like it's not being utilized. And that's what I got for you. Man, the most honest review channel, the most honest pro wrestling channel in this community. It's the Amplified, man, and the Amplified unit. Until next time, and there will be that next time. 44 Dive, that's a wrap. Unit, salute. BC saying check you.